Welcome to episode 2 of Moving My Home Recording Studio. It's going to be more of a narration-based video today because I got a lot of footage. Right now, I am using a scrub plane to really just clean up some rough lumber to be one of the legs on the desk I'm making for my control board. And yes, if you're wondering, not only am I into analog tape recording, I'm into analog woodworking. I love my hand tools. As you see, I could kind of look like Paul Sellers in this shot right here. But anyway, this video is not going to be about woodworking. It is going to be about music making, and particularly moving my home recording studio, right? So first things first, we're making this damn desk for my new control board to sit onto. And this lumber that I am, preparing, the reason it's been sitting in my garage for 10 years and I got it for free is because it's just not that good of hardwood lumber. It's twisted all to hell. The dimensions are all over the place. There's knots, there's this, there's that. It's just not good quality wood. But in the interest of just, one, getting rid of this wood that's been in my garage forever and saving some cash, I figured let's use this, lumber up. And, for the purpose I need it for, I basically just need rough shapes. The desk I'm making that you're going to be seeing in a second is purely just for utilitarian aspect. I don't care what it looks like. I just need it to be functional. I'm really just cleaning up the outside edges of the wood right now, just so when I paint it, it's at least, bearable. The scrub plane that I'm using to clean up this outside edge is actually giving it what they call a scalloped finish, which is like kind of typical of like 1800s hand tool woodworking. It's really just a rough way to dress the side of a board up or a pillar, and it kind of looks cool when in the end when I want to paint it actually gives it a really cool texture instead of just a flat piece of wood. Here you can see me cutting the piece of wood to size here. That's going to be on the top piece. You'll see in a little bit as we speed forward here. The piece of wood that I'm going to wind up using for the top of this desk is actually just another scrap piece. I had a huge scrap piece, as you could tell. This is from another project I was helping my girlfriend with for her company. And the size I wanted was pretty much the size that the scrap piece was. So I just kept the width. And the final width that I wound up going with is going to leave about 6 inches of room on each side of the desk that, the board itself is not going to take up. So I could use that for storage and putting various things. You can see here I'm using an old-fashioned drill just to be a really annoying analog guy. And I've actually done projects in the past before where I forced myself to only use hand tools. This project winds up not being one of those because you'll see in a couple seconds why. But, the interest of making this desk was strictly just to make the quickest and most brutalist design I can and just get it done with. And the woodworker in me can't help but cringe at the kind of end product I wind up getting. And you're going to see here, wow, I'm really bending that drill bit. But the woodworker in me cringes at the end product of this because it almost comes out like a Little Rascals type of project in the end because, none of the legs are the same size. None of the side skirts are the same size. It's all made of scrap pieces, but you're really not going to see most of the desk for the end product. Well, here we go. Yep, snapped a bit. That's what happens. That's what happens. But, this is why you can see me turn to electric drill because I'm like, I don't have time for this hand tool business right now. I have too many things going on. I need to get this desk built as soon as possible because I'm trying to, make this move as quick as possible. I don't want it to happen over the course of months. And I'm just going to take some time to answer some questions from the last video. Someone brought up the idea of acoustical treatment, and that is definitely something I'm going to be thinking about. I don't know how crazy I'm going to go and really how much room I'm going to have to put a lot of acoustic treating. This room, I'm looking around it right now. I'm in it recording this audio, and man, I have like a quarter of my stuff in it already, and it's already filled, and that wall space is going to be really precious to me. I'm going to have to put up a lot of shelves to hold a lot of my gears and microphone and, etc. So I don't know how much room I'm actually going to have for acoustical treatment. Another thing to consider is I love pictures. I love putting up pictures of bands and artists that inspire me, and I'm definitely going to do that. And putting up pictures in a recording studio is like the worst thing you could do, right? Because you're putting a flat surface on your wall, and it's not helping with diffusion that much. It's not, absorbing anything. But to me, a little bit of the creative juices can be beneficial sometime, and, I'll make it work. You can see me here tipping the top of the desk. And this type of work, doing anything, is going to be really difficult. Me just being alone. You're going to see in shortly, moving this desk by myself up the stairs is going to be a whole task in itself. And let's just skip ahead here, because we've been building this top of this desk forever. Now I'm finally putting on the legs, and once again, this lumber was twisted all to hell, and I didn't have time to straighten it out with hand tools. So, I just get out a framing square, I look with my eyes and say, hey, does that look good enough? Good enough. And you see me here using a tongue depressor to shim the leg to be as plumb and straight as possible. And for this build, that's all I need. I don't need precision by any means. This desk is just filling the simple role of holding my mixing board, and it doesn't need to be fancy at all. I'm going to wind up putting a shelf that is going to go over the mixing board to hold some of the gear, but I'm going to do that in a couple days once I get the board on this and I got everything where I want it, and I'm going to make that shelf where it needs to be. It's always nice when you're building something and you could use whatever you're building as part of building that thing. So right now I'm using the desk to further plane some of the wood that I'm going to use for the bottom supports of the leg, just to make sure that the desk's legs do not bow when I put weight on it and everything stays plumb. And you can see right here, I'm wearing two hats. If you're wondering why I'm wearing two hats, is because I went to the store and bought that second hat, put it on my head to carry, and I forgot I had it. So I look a little bit like an idiot in some of these shots, but let's just ignore it. That's why the fucking tag's on it. I'm an idiot. But anyway, you can see me here putting the bottom supports for these legs. Once again, I'm just doing some rough work. I'm going to wind up painting this desk anyway. Here I doing a Matthias jump test. And, as I said, I'm going to paint this thing anyway. Right now I'm priming it. And it's going to hide so many imperfections that once the desk is on it, you're not even going to notice it. It's just going to blend right in, and it's not going to matter. And it's always satisfying when you get to this stage of a project, when you start finishing or painting whatever thing you made, and it all looks like one uniform color, and it starts to look good. It starts to come together. Once I start painting it black, it really starts to look like a typical home recording piece of equipment, so it's going to be perfect for my needs. I let that dry overnight, and now this bad boy was ready to paint black. And this time it was dark and cold out, so I'm doing it in my garage. And you can see, my garage is not that big, so it's kind of hard to paint in here, but, I make it work. I like to use the top of whatever I'm building as a paint tray, apparently. Definitely not the best way to paint, but it saves me the added time of having to clean the tray after I'm done, so I wind up doing that more than I would like to admit. And once I start painting this thing black, man, it really starts to come together. It really starts to look good. And I'm going to start painting another piece of scrap I have in the background here right now. And that is going to eventually become the shelf that's going to go over the control board. Sometimes it's easier to paint stuff before it's on whatever you're putting. And, when you go to do that second coat, you could do it after you install it and cut everything to size. And it just makes things a little quicker. So that's what I wind up doing. I don't know where exactly that's going to go yet, but we're going to figure that out once the control board is on the desk upstairs. I let that dry for a couple of hours, then I did a second coat, and man, that satin finish looks pretty damn good for this desk. I'm excited to get it upstairs and my control board on it. Unfortunately for me, my control board is actually not my possession right now. It's actually in a storage unit, half an hour across town, so that's going to have to wait until I could get my friends to come over tomorrow to help me come carry that thing, because I cannot carry that myself. I am, however, going to have to carry this desk myself right now because no one is here to help me. And yeah, like I said, it sucks doing this kind of work when you're by yourself. It makes it so much harder. You make marks on the wall. It's just not ideal. And of course, once I get to the doorway, I realize, wow, I really made this thing with like a cunt hair to go. You're going to see I'm going to have to wind up taking the door off just to get it in. But, in a lot of things in life, I like to really plan meticulously ahead. And other things, I just wing it. And as you can tell, the design of this desk, I just wung it. I got lucky. It was so close to being too big to fitting in this doorway, and I had to take it apart just to get it in here. But, sometimes life just finds a way, as they say. So I had to take the door off, and I was able to get this in just fine. You can see I'm too lazy to move my computer desk, so I wound up just doing this. And, once again, when you're working by yourself, Everything is so much harder because, like, you wind up brushing. Here you can see me using a magic eraser to clean up the paint that I scuffed onto the wall. Here I'm moving the pieces to what used to be the bed that was in this room. I'm just moving it to the other side of the room because where I want the desk to go is currently where that stuff is. I bought these floor protectors meant for furniture, and I'm going to try putting these under the desk to see if that, is going to be good enough just to have instead of putting casters. I really don't feel like paying 30, 40 bucks for a set of 4 casters to make this thing roll. So I just want to see what I can get away with just these, fluffy dead cat looking things. You can see here, I'm able to shift it pretty easily along the floor. Obviously, it's going to be a little harder to do when my control board is on it, but, you kind of get the idea. And, of course, it was not good enough. So who are we kidding? I went to Home Depot and I got 4 casters. It's going to be so much easier to move this thing once it has casters on it. And obviously, as I was saying in my last episode, you need to get to the back of your control board and gear just to fix wires and reroute stuff. And, to have this thing on casters, it's going to be such a dream. I don't know who I was kidding trying to make those sliding protector things work. It wasn't going to be good enough. So anyway, I'm putting the casters on, and you're going to see that it's going to work swimmingly. You could also see in the shots how much this desk flexes when I stand on it, which, obviously I'm putting a lot of weight in a corner of this, but, as I was saying before, this desk does not need to be crazy. You could easily spend the time and make better crawl spaces for these legs and do it in a proper way, but for what I needed to do, this is going to be fine enough. I know there's a lot of people probably watching this cringing at the braces I put on this thing. Like, these are not really adequate if you're looking for a heavy duty desk, but for what I need, it doesn't need to be a heavy duty desk. So, whatever, just deal with it. Of course, on this last caster, one of the screws just got completely stuck, and no matter what I did, I could not get it out. I wound up just leaving it half screwed in, whatever, good enough. And here you go. Now I start testing it out, and I go, thank God I put casters on this thing. I don't know what I was thinking trying to make those other things work. It's going to be so nice. I'm so excited. I think this is kind of like a must. And you could see there's that radiator in the back. I can't push the desk flush to the wall, but that's going to be fine because there's going to be so many wires back there anyway. I'm not going to want to put the board completely flush to the wall. That's going to be just fine. I'm going to have to worry about the heat rising up a little bit onto the board, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Here I start moving one of the storage racks from my other room into that room, and once again, you could see, man, it's like Tetris moving stuff around in these rooms. It's just so much easier to do when you have someone else to help you, and you can move stuff more easily and make things clear and whatever. I wound up taking the mattress down once again. Pain in the ass. You can see me almost knock down a few pictures that are hanging on my wall. Luckily, I didn't. And here, I'm about to say something, I think.
That's a heavy fucking mattress.
No kidding. That was a heavy mattress. Doesn't look like it, but man, that's a heavy damn mattress. Anyway, you can see me start populating the shelves here, really packing it in tight and making the best of my storage space because, as I said, this room is not nearly as big as I would like to think. But we're going to have to figure this out together and find as much storage and be as creative as possible to put stuff on the walls. Now you can see me just cleaning stuff as I go. Whenever I start working, I always try to take a break and say, okay, let's start cleaning things before I put this power strip where it needs to go. Let me clean it a little bit. There's 10 years worth of grime and dirt and grease on it, and I always think it's good to start at a fresh slate. So I'm going to end this video with me vacuuming. As I finish making this narration, I'm about to start doing some electrical work that you'll see in the next episode, some minor electrical work, but there's a lot of things to think about. I've been thinking all day at work, what kind of power conditioner should I get for my audio equipment? What kind of acoustical treatment? There's so many things to think about. So I'll see you guys next episode. Hopefully my haphazard way of narrating this types of video isn't too unbearable. I know it's all over the place. I just don't have really the time to really do a thorough editing. So I really hope it's interesting, and you guys let me know. Of course, ask questions, whatever, etc. All right, people, good night. All right, episode 3 of moving my home recording studio. And this is literally 5 minutes after I finished the narration for episode 2. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I don't think I'm going to be doing the narration types of videos for this series because that was just too hard to edit and it just seemed a little unnatural. So I'm just going to start talking to the camera like a goddamn American. I don't know what that means. Just roll with it. Okay, so what are we doing in this video? So far, we're going to be doing some light electrical work on this ceiling fan. And really, this has nothing to do with my home recording studio. I've been wanting to do that for years. Probably, no joke, probably about 15 years in this room, because the remote transmitter, or receiver, I guess, the remote receiver in that fan for the remote never works. It's always a problem, and occasionally it gets so messed up. When I say occasionally, like once a week, I have to go into my garage to the circuit breaker and switch the breaker on and off just to get that radio receiver to start functioning again. It's really frustrating. This also has the second added benefit of getting rid of electrical noise. Those dimmer switches, receivers, anything that has a dimming function in, you know, a modern home is most likely going to have one of those circuits that creates a shit ton of interference. And I'm hoping that, you know, this should help with some of the electrical problems I have in this house, which brings a whole nother topic. You know, I was doing some research today. I have never had a power conditioner or anything, you know, electrical-wise tailored for audio equipment. And, you know, I read all online how important it is and all this, and they may be right. I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those things that I'm going to spend the time and get a proper, you know, line regulator and filter and this and this and that, and I'm probably not going to hear much of a distance. I hope I do. I hope I hear a difference, but we'll see. Regardless, let's just deal with this light, and then I don't know. We'll tackle the next topic after that. All right, so I took this damn thing out. This thing was buzzing loud as hell. It's really warm to the touch right now. Ah, screw it. Let's open this bad bitch up. Oh, jeez. So here's the receiver. Bunch of capacitors, resistors, transistors, transformers, a bunch of stuff going on in here. It is still hot to the touch. The amount of heat and therefore energy this thing must have been wasting over the past 15 years is probably, I don't even want to think about it. But we're going to bypass all this. You know, it has power in with these two wires, and then there's a common out, a fan out, and a light out. Let's go up to the fan so I can show you what I'm doing. Okay, so the electrical setup's going to be really simple here. You know, we have the black and white coming out of the wall. That is the hot and the neutral, you know, 120 voltage. Right now there's nothing being supplied to that. I have the breaker off. We have the ground, obviously. Let's bring our attention over to here, these three wires from the fan. The white is going to connect simply to the white coming from the wall. That's going to be the neutral or common. And then the black and blue wires are what goes to the fan for the light and the fan wires. These are just going to go straight to the 120 volts from the black wire, and I'll be able to control the light on and off, excuse me, through the chains here. So to turn the light on and off, you know, I pull this. To change the fan between the 4 speeds, I'll just be able to change it with this. I'm obviously going to put a longer chain on here now that I don't have a remote for it. I'm going to put a longer chain on here so I can access it, and that's really it. Really simple job. Let's just get this hooked up. For the sake of satisfying the safety trolls, I will test the wires just to make double sure there's no power whatsoever. 0 volts. I'm ready to start twisting away here. Alright, so we have power. Here we go. Okay, we don't want the fan on right now. Call me crazy, you're not going to be able to tell on camera, but these lights in this room are all of a sudden a hell of a lot brighter than they ever were. So that receiver must have been taking some a considerable amount of juice, at least a few watts. I mean, like I said, it was hot. Now these lights are a little brighter. Can you believe it? Anyway, let's put this decorative piece back on and call it a day and move on to the next project. Who am I kidding? I'm here. I might as well get rid of all the dust on this damn thing. It's a lot. Of course, my vacuum dies on me. Don't worry. I got backup, a booty rag.
Lord, I know I love my booty rag. Booty rag, booty rag.